Now I'm with Avinel Allison, famous researcher and producer of a huge number of systematic reviews. Some of systematic reviews actually very temporary. You showed that weight reduction in obese people increase the probability of the pregnancy.
That's
Yes, and nowadays effective weight reduction drugs prove that your conclusion from the systematic review was correct.
true enough, but I we hope to actually review some of the evidence from the weight loss trials. We have a grant application at the moment because there's a very interesting thing about the weight loss trials, the drug trials. When you look at the weight loss in the placebo groups of these trials, where people have been given lifestyle advice, you find that the weight loss in the placebo groups is much, much less than you would expect if they'd had a good weight loss intervention, which means that the difference between the intervention group and the placebo group is a great deal more than you might see in real life. So to some extent, the economic evaluations that have been done on these weight loss drugs and the difference in the weight changes are overestimated.
Also, probably first of all, Avenel is famous by her multi-years research of the SATA case.
Yes, that's right.
You worked about 20 years about it.
Well, not quite as long as that. Yeah. Well, put it this way: it's nearly 20 years since I thought, first of all, there's something rather suspicious about these trials in my Cochrane review, which is looking at vitamin D for the prevention of fractures. But it was not until about 2012, 2013 that working my good colleagues and friends in New Zealand, Andrew Gray and Mark Boland, that we started to investigate all the trials by Sato and his colleagues and found numerous problems with those trials. And so as a result of that, we have two researchers now who are, I think, fourth and sixth on Retraction Watch's leaderboard for the most retractions. But it's a huge amount of work persuading the journals to retract papers.
But you all not only dig deep, but you also dig long.
Yeah.
And your vision of history is very, very important. May I ask you the question which I believe very important for us to understand the history of science. Nowadays, people speak a lot about how harmful are, for example, publication pressure and everything else for falsification
Yes.
and so on and so on for today. But does it mean that research became worse today than they were 20 or 40 years ago? About 30 years ago,
Yeah.
late Doug Altman published the important article about the waste of research, about bad medical research. I like to remind about this wonderful guy. You remember him?
I think there are two issues for issues of research integrity, and actually they're rather different. So, in any kind of work, not just academic work, any kind of work, you are always going to have a few individuals who are basically have criminal behaviour, and you won't stop them whatever happens. And I think the people that we investigated in Japan were like that. They are people who probably, whatever the systems were, you probably wouldn't have done much to prevent what they did, because that's just how they are. then we have a whole different ballgame about the academic environment in which people work and the incentives for people to do bad things. And that's the kind of thing which shifts the whole distribution for everybody else towards worse behaviour. So we have the problem of paper mills, for example, and the pressure to publish and produce publications, particularly
Yes,
from people like China, where we know that the incentive structures are driving huge problems in behaviour. And I think that's quite a different thing from some of the people at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, but my impression is that 40 or 50 years ago, science was not better than today. It was worse. But we just don't see it like we see what is going today.
I think you're right, because to some extent the methods and the questions and how we conduct science these days are so much better than then, and so the other behaviour counteracts that. And yes, I mean, if we go back, so much was hidden, so much ignorance. Yeah, it's hard to know. But I think you're right. I mean, I think there's a lot of... if you go back and look at old studies in the medical journals, you think, how did anybody ever get away with that, really?
Yeah. But you know, I yesterday spoke with David Torrey, and actually after that start to think about the wonderful guy who created his journal of chronic disease, Alvan Feinstein. Alvan Feinstein not only published textbooks, but
Yes.
he teach a lot, and he published hundreds of semi-popular texts which created the modern understanding of the clinical epidemiology.
Yes.
So it is when we say that science was worse 50 years ago,
Yes.
but 50 years ago good people created a fundament for the improvement,
Yes.
for real improvement of what
Yes.
we are doing. Thank you, and I will post it on